had an investor reach out to me recently about a property that was listed by a broker, and he was asking me when would it be an appropriate time, if any, to reach out from the buyer directly to the seller. The answer, of course, depends on the situation, and I'm going to go over a few examples in this video on when it's a good time and when it's not a good time to contact the seller directly. Let's go! So to properly answer a question like that, you really have to know who the seller is, the type of person they are, who the buyer is, who the broker is it listed by a broker, the interactions that have been had so far, how long has it been on the market, all those things factor in. So let's jump into a few more common examples. But before I do, a hard and fast general rule is, if it's listed by a broker, the buyer should never contact the seller directly without the broker's input or permission. The reason is that listing broker probably knows that seller and their makeup and personality a lot more than you do. That seller may not be the kind of person that wants to be contacted directly. Most sellers, I've learned, want there to be someone in the middle. They want a broker to negotiate between the two parties. I have found that many sellers know that maybe they are too brash, or maybe they're too shy, or maybe they know they're pushovers if they're in front of someone and may give up more than they otherwise would. But mainly, they want a seasoned negotiator to go in between. And who better than a broker who has had thousands of iterations between two parties to get the maximum price from a buyer and at terms the seller can live with. So let's go into examples. One example would be if a property is listed by a broker and there's a call for offers, I would say it's not a good idea to ask the broker if you can speak directly with the seller. It gives the feeling to the broker and the seller that you're trying to pull a fast one, that you're trying to get in there and squeeze out a deal ahead of everybody else. And while that's true, and you may have good intentions to do a good deal between the parties, it oftentimes just gives off a sneaky feeling. Also, if it was just listed with a broker and just came on the market and you don't even know if there's a call for offers or not, and you ask the broker to reach directly to the seller, that also gives off a weird vibe to the broker and the seller. Many sellers hire the brokers they hire because they have a tight relationship. And if they feel like you're trying to go around them to do something with them directly, it makes them feel weird that you don't trust their broker and that you're trying to pull a sneaky one. Now listen, I know that's not always the case. I'm just saying that it's very risky to even try this route. You have to be prepared to lose the deal altogether because of the vibe you put off. If there is a seller that's large enough that has a disposition team and they are bringing the property to the market themselves without a broker, I still wouldn't ask the disposition team to connect directly with the principal of the company. To some sellers, that may make them feel like you believe their disposition team is incompetent or can't get the deal done themselves. Or it may make the seller feel like you're going to be able to get a better deal for yourself by contacting the principal directly. Now let's talk about a couple of examples where it may be appropriate to reach out to the seller directly. One obvious example is if the seller themselves, with no disposition team, no broker, comes to market with their own asset. Of course, you're going to be reaching out to the seller directly and working out a deal. But my other example is the example at which the investor at the start of this video reached out to me for. And that is the following. If a seller has come to market with his asset, whether it's with his own disposition team or with a broker, and it's been on the market for a long time and hasn't sold, and others have made offers or not made offers, it's just been out there a while and obviously a deal's not getting done, this may be a good time, with the broker's permission, to be able to set up a direct talk with the seller to explore various ideas on how the two of you can come together on a deal. In that example, here's how I propose you set up an interaction like that. In an email to the listing broker, and only the broker, not a copy to the seller or their team, ask the broker, don't demand to the broker, if he thinks it would be a good idea for him, the broker, to set up a quick 10-minute exploratory phone call between the seller, you as the buyer, and the listing broker. There would be no attorneys involved in this phone call. In that email, I always like to open up with sincere compliments. Tell the broker you appreciate how hard he has worked on this assignment and for how long. Maybe compliment the marketing materials that they've put together. Compliment the way in which they've been always reachable by phone and email to you during this process. And also compliment the seller in the email about how well the property looks and how well the books were put together by himself and the broker. And the reason you're doing this all in an email is because you want the broker to be able to forward this sincere, nice email to the seller. You're going to tell the broker in the email that the point of the phone call is to solidify an offer you want to make on the deal. I would also in the email leak one or two of your ideas on how you think you may be able to bridge the gap, but let the broker know that you also have a number of other questions for the seller that could lead to better incentives for the seller in your offer. And then it's just better to ask those questions either in person on a phone call or in Zoom so that you can then follow up with possibly additional questions that could again benefit the seller. By the way, if you can get a Zoom call out of it, awesome. It's just better to see face to face, but a phone call or a conference call is also great as well. Reiterate in that email that you understand what the price is the seller's looking for and that the point of the meeting is not to bash the price down. It's simply to spend 10 minutes to explore several ideas on how you can get to that price to satisfy the seller. Also in the email, tell who is going to be on the phone from your side. Again, I would not have attorneys on there, but if you had someone on your acquisitions team or a partner, just tell the broker who those people are and what their roles are. That way the seller is fully aware of who's going to be on the phone call. To me, the less, the better. You would end that email to the broker by thanking the broker for their input on this idea that you're proposing with the phone call. Let the broker know that you appreciate their tenacity to try to get this deal done between the parties. If the broker ends up responding and shoots down the idea or tells you it's not a good idea or that the seller is not the kind of person who you'd want to get on the phone with, this idea is dead. Do not go around the broker directly to the seller. That would be a really bad idea. Instead, just let the broker know that you appreciate him listening to your idea and giving good feedback, and that you hope to transact with him or her or the seller in the future. If you have other situations that you'd like me to give my input on whether or not you should contact the seller, just put that down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer it very quickly. If this video brought you some value, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you're made aware of my videos each and every week. See you on the next one.